Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, a visit to the only presidential library within a public library. The Massachusetts bishops urge a no vote on Question 4. And Dan Dumas looks back at Respect Life Month events. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel to Reel. With Election Day 2016 fast approaching, there are many issues and candidates vying for our attention. Here in Massachusetts, that will include Question 4, which, if passed, would legalize recreational use of marijuana in the state. It's a measure opposed by many community and law enforcement officials, as well as the Catholic bishops of the Commonwealth. The Massachusetts Catholic Conference, on behalf of the state's 4 bishops, is promoting a no vote. Joining us now to discuss the bishops' concerns on Question 4 is James Driscoll, Executive Director of the Massachusetts Catholic Conference. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Sharon.
Jim, why did the bishops want to speak out on this issue?
Well, Sharon, the bishops clearly saw in this question that it's a public health crisis if Question 4 would have passed to legalize recreational marijuana. It's been shown and proven that brain development, particularly in the youth, will have permanent damage for use of marijuana. And what is particularly concerning is the potency of the marijuana is 10 times or higher greater than it was 20 or 30 years ago. And the other thing which will be very concerning, this will be available not only in the traditional cigarette form, it's also going to be available in edibles like candy and brownies and cookies and soda. So it's really a concern. It's a concern that this will be a crisis that is going to stress the community. We're already facing an opioid crisis. Let's not make it worse.
And they have some strong facts to support their concerns?
Oh, they absolutely do. The bishops didn't have to look further than both Colorado and Washington State, where marijuana became legal 3 or 4 years ago. Particularly, take a look at Colorado. There was a recent report that just came out in September which talked about the real effects of marijuana, the real negative effects of marijuana in Colorado. It is proven that the industry, this multi-billion-dollar industry, is targeting the minority communities and the poor. For every 47 residents in the poorest communities of Colorado, there's one pot shop. These are the shops that sell the marijuana and their products. They're across the state, there's one pot shop for every 90 residents. This is what's concerning. This is why it's so important to take a hard look at this and say, do we want to bring these kind of issues to Massachusetts? And it's really an advertisement to the youth to get involved at an early age, and it's just not someplace society should be going.
Is it fair to say that the Catholic dioceses in this state have a vested interest because of the many social service agencies that they maintain?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the social service agencies like Catholic Charities and soup kitchens provide wonderful services, and what they're seeing now is a spike in the people that take their services from the opioid addiction, which is sweeping across Massachusetts and the country. It's proven that marijuana is an addictive drug and will lead to a more powerful crisis and more powerful use of other opioids. For example, places like Providence Ministries in the Springfield Diocese provides food, shelter, clothing to so many people, and it's a great service. What we're going to see in ministries like that is increased use. And not only just in the Catholic ministries, but it's also going to strain public safety, emergency responders, hospitals, and the like that will provide services to people suffering with opioid abuse. And this is going to be a gateway right to that.
Okay, thanks so much, Jim Driscoll, for joining us today.
Thank you, Sharon.
And this past week, the widow of fallen state trooper Thomas Clardy, who was killed this past March by a driver allegedly impaired by marijuana, came out in opposition. We have a link to more information on this ballot question at iobserve.org. With the presidential election a little over a week away, both candidates have been anything but civil during the debate process and in the media. Maybe they and other politicians can learn something about civility from the president who served during the Roaring '20s. Calvin Coolidge spent his early political life in Western Massachusetts and was governor of the Commonwealth before becoming the nation's chief executive officer. Not many may know that all of Coolidge's manuscripts, letters, photos, artifacts, and much more are housed at the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum, tucked away inside Northampton's Forbes Library. Steve Kiltonick visited this unique and interesting public museum recently and has this report.
He once said, "I have found in the course of a long public life that the things that I did not say never hurt me." It was Calvin Coolidge's frugality with words and dry Yankee wit which earned him the nickname Silent Cal while president. Born in Plymouth Notch, Vermont, Coolidge has many ties to Western Massachusetts. He graduated from Amherst College and entered law and politics in Northampton, where he worked his way up the political ladder, becoming a city councilman, a state rep, Northampton mayor, then state senator. A Republican, Coolidge served as a state lieutenant governor before being elected twice as governor of the Commonwealth. In 1920, Coolidge rose to national prominence when he served as vice president for President Warren Harding. In 1924, Coolidge was elected to his own four-year term as president during a time of economic prosperity. As vice president, Coolidge started to donate documents and memorabilia to Northampton's Forbes Library. During his presidency, he continued to add materials to the collection, which eventually was consolidated in 1956 into the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum. It is the only public library in the U.S. to hold a presidential collection. Julie Bartlett Nelson, the museum's archivist, said many items came to Forbes after Coolidge left Washington.
7 Army trucks come to Northampton out of the White House in 1929. 4 of them come directly to Forbes Library, full of materials.
The materials include crates of papers, manuscripts, Coolidge's White House book collection, and various gifts, such as elephant tusk from Teddy Roosevelt.
We have about 4,000 photographs. We have scrapbooks. We have papers ranging from his time as a lawyer through his governor's office, vice president, president. We have 2 bank vaults house about 200 document boxes containing about 200,000 sheets of paper, personal photographs as well, personal letters.
Coolidge, who was part Abenaki Indian, received many gifts when the entire White House and staff spent 3 months in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Included are peace pipes, purses, moccasins, and beaded bags. One of the more visible items here at the museum is this Native American headdress, which was given to Coolidge as a gift from the Sioux Nation for his signing the Indian Citizenship Act of 1926. There's also this 350-pound electric horse, which the Coolidge family used for exercise. A prized possession are the Howard Chandler Christie portraits of Coolidge and his wife Grace, which hung in the White House. Coolidge was born on July 4, 1872. His father ran a successful general store, but the family was primarily fifth-generation farmers.
I think he saw the value of, hard work, physical work. He also saw the difficult life of farming, and some years were good and some years were bad, and really trying your best to preserve what you had and keep it all going.
Faith was also an important part of Calvin's early years.
The church they attend is the Union Christian Church. It's directly across the street from his house, so right outside his front door. They were very active and involved in that, but definitely, Faith was a big influencer in decision-making for him.
At 12, Coolidge lost his mother, and a few years later, his older sister, Abigail. His father, who also served in the Vermont Senate, pushed him to succeed. Coolidge received a degree in classics from Amherst College, where he excelled on the debate team. After college, Coolidge moved to Northampton, where he clerked at the law firm Hammond & Fields. They served as mentors, steering Calvin to get involved in local politics. Coolidge became lieutenant governor, then governor of Massachusetts in 1919. His response during the Boston police strike gets him national attention. In 1920, he became the running mate for presidential candidate Warren Harding. In Northampton, on Notification Day, 15,000 turn out for a parade. The Harding-Coolidge ticket easily wins the general election. It's the decade of the Roaring '20s, of flappers, prohibition, automobiles, and the Charleston. In 1923, Harding becomes ill and dies in San Francisco. Coolidge was on vacation in Plymouth Notch with his family when he received the news.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. He's woken up with a knock on the door to deliver the telegram, and his father, who was a notary and a state official, swore him in a candlelight ceremony in the living room.
The Coolidge years are marked by strong economy, reduced taxes, balanced budgets, a scandal-free White House, and progress made in civil rights. In the 1920s, Coolidge took advantage of an explosion in technology.
He's the first president to really use the radio. His 1925 inauguration speech is broadcast nationally on the radio, so he's the first president you could hear in your living room giving speeches.
The media starts to call Coolidge Silent Cal for his quiet demeanor.
So he does give more press conferences per number of days in office than any other president, but they are short, they're efficient.
While on the campaign trail, Coolidge's youngest son, Calvin Jr., died of sepsis from an infected blister.
He does say in his autobiography that when his son died, the glory of the presidency died that day. It definitely takes a huge toll on both Calvin and Grace and their older son, John.
A popular president, Coolidge decided not to seek a second term, which many believe he could have won easily.
He gives a handwritten slip of paper to the newspaper reporters who were sort of on scene during his summer vacation, and he just handwrites, "I will not run in 1928. No comments, no press conference, that's it."
In 1929, Coolidge and Grace returned to Northampton to their home on Massasoit Street. Calvin maintained a law office space, gave speeches, wrote a syndicated newspaper column, and enjoys a quiet retirement. In 1932, he gives a speech for Republican Herbert Hoover in his last public appearance. Before his death in January 1933, Coolidge confides to a friend, "I feel I no longer fit in with these times." Lately, researchers, biographers, and historians have revisited Coolidge and his presidency and are rethinking the legacy of this reserved and introspective politician.
He was seen as very sort of honest, loyal, trustworthy. You see a lot of people crossing party lines and voting for him because they respected him and he was a good businessman.
Perhaps the lesson Coolidge has for today's political leaders is that the values of civility and integrity never go out of style, no matter what party one may belong to. For Reel to Reel, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
If you plan on visiting the Coolidge Presidential Library and Museum to learn more about Calvin Coolidge's public and private life story, Steve says that Julie will be happy to answer any questions or just show you around. You can find a link to the library for museum hours on our website at iobserve.org. And still to come on Reel to Reel, Dan Dumas has stories on how Respect Life Month was marked here in Western Massachusetts. These stories and more are still to come on Reel to Reel.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio, and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
Travel next summer with Bishop Mitchell Rosansky and Catholic Communications to Fatima, Portugal to mark the centennial of the Blessed Mother's apparitions. Departing July 17th, this 10-day pilgrimage will visit 3 major European Catholic heritage sites, beginning at Fatima, where you will walk in the footsteps of the 3 young children to whom Mary appeared a century ago. Witness firsthand the great faith of the Portuguese people and the beauty of the land. See how Mary's message still inspires. From there, we'll head to Santiago de Compostela, Spain, where the remains of St. James are buried. Mass will be celebrated in the magnificent cathedral, taking in the sights and sounds of beautiful northern Spain. Our journey will conclude in Lourdes, France, Europe's other great Marian shrine, where the faith has been celebrated for over 150 years. Each day, Bishop Rosansky, assisted by Father Gary Daly, will offer Mass. Mass. For more information on this trip, log on to iobserve.org or call 413-452-0670 for a brochure. Renew your faith in 2017. Join Bishop Rosansky and Father Daly for this great spiritual opportunity. Don't miss out.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel to Reel News Brief. As this month comes to an end, we look back today at some events marking October as Respect Life Month. We begin with the presentation of the Silver Rose at St. Cecilia's Church in Wilbraham. Julie Beaulieu reports.
She is the patroness of the Americas and the unborn. Each year, since 1960, the Knights of Columbus honor Our Lady of Guadalupe with the running of the Rose. Grand Knight John Dunn explains why the Knights of Columbus started this event.
The very first running of the Rose in Guadalupe was inspired by the Squires of Columbus, so it's a youth organization as part of the Knights of Columbus. And it was their idea, and then subsequently caught fire and was embraced by the Knights of Columbus. And also has a tribute to culture of life. So that's the tie-in with the Knights of Columbus. The Silver Rose centers around Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it was started this is the 56th year. The first year they did a regular rose, and the second year they decided they needed to do a little more durable rose, and it was called Running of the Rose. So they crafted it out of silver.
6 silver roses will travel through North America this fall. Some will be placed at the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Monterrey, Mexico. This rose, the 6th, is traveling through New England. Knight of Columbus, Joe DeRoy, coordinated the roses stop at his parish.
We're one of the fortunate ones here, the first ones in the Northeast, to have the rose here at St. Cecilia's. And we have been preparing for our event here for about 4 weeks. The motto is one life, one rose.
And the 6th rose will end up in New Haven, Connecticut on December 12th, which is the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. In Wilbraham, this is Julie Beaulieu reporting.
Later in the month, pro-life advocates from throughout Western Massachusetts gathered for their annual breakfast gathering. Carolee McGrath tells us more.
On a recent Sunday morning, close to 150 people gathered to support the efforts of the Political Action Committee for the Civil Rights for Unborn Children, an organization that raises money to support pro-life candidates regardless of their political party.
We have our Don Humison here today, who we've supported in the past, and he's been very good about his pro-life. So I say yes, keep it up, and we'll win them one at a time.
Longtime Chair Dorothy Moreau and her late husband George Moreau have been tireless advocates for life through the years. George, a former city councilor in Chicopee, died last spring on Divine Mercy Sunday. Dorothy and George always encouraged people to vote for life.
We have to realize that pro-life is the core. That's where it all starts. I mean, I have a folder over there with a picture. Why should you vote pro-life? Because that's where it all starts, is our life. If we don't have life, we have nothing.
Conventual Franciscan Father James McCurry, a Springfield native and minister provincial of the Our Lady of the Angels province, was the guest speaker. He dedicated his talk to George Moreau.
Civilization depends upon our safeguarding the rights of the most vulnerable, the poor, the helpless, the unprotected. And the position of pro-lifers is that no one could be poorer, more vulnerable, less protected than an unborn child.
Through the years, Father McCurry has worked with the Missionaries of Charity, a religious order founded by St. Teresa of Calcutta. He also met with St. Teresa of Calcutta, or Mother Teresa, as many still call her. During his talk, he spoke of the saint's commitment to being a voice for the unborn.
I do run into the fearful, the indifferent, the apathetic, those who will say there are other issues. Mother Teresa always thought that the issue is life, that the rest of the morality of the world hinges on safeguarding the life of a child in the womb.
The youth group from St. Anthony of Padua Parish in Chicopee also turned out to support the pro-life effort. 22-year-old Rosalie Mendez comes from a family of faithful Catholics. Her brother is Father Yerrick Mendez.
Women need to understand that ultrasound, that's, oh my gosh, as soon as you see the heartbeat, or like the little feet and the hands, like that right there is just so beautiful, and that should be a turning point for a woman. That's like, we have the power to make life, you know, we have the power to start new generations, and you got to think like the next life that you are able to bear in your womb, it could be the next president of the United States. It could be the most successful advocate for the world. You know, you never know. You could be bearing a saint.
Attendees hope to encourage more people to stand for life. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
Meanwhile, one local group has marked each October by lining up for life. Peggy Weber tells us more.
About 40 people gathered on a lovely fall day to form a life chain along Longmeadow Street in front of St. Mary's Church from 11 a.m. to noon. Sponsored by the Knights of Columbus Council 5406 and St. Mary's Parish and the Pro-Life of Pioneer Valley, the group made a visible pro-life statement as hundreds of cars drove by. They began their public witness with a prayer, saying the prayer to St. Michael the Archangel. Tony Moran, a member of the Knights of Columbus and a longtime pro-life advocate, organized the event. He said the life chain makes a strong statement.
We have to sort of maintain priorities. What is the most important thing facing us as Catholics in America? It's the culture of life. So we're here today to try to keep this issue of life on people's radar screen.
People from age 3 months to senior citizens stood along the street for the full hour, waving signs that say, "We choose life." The response was mostly positive, and the spirit was enthusiastic. Several students from Pope Francis High School, including some from China, participated in the life chain. John Anziano, co-campus minister, invited them and explained why he was there.
Well, it's important because this gives us a chance to have a voice out in the community. And unfortunately, the unborn don't have a voice. So we become the voice for them. And this is something I have been taught since I was a young boy. And since I was very young, I've been involved in the movement. And any chance or opportunity I have to be that voice for the unborn, I like to take that opportunity.
Tony says he does public witness at the abortion clinic on Main Street in Springfield twice a week. He said he was heartened by the numbers at the life chain and believes it is important to take to the streets.
It's absolutely worthwhile because if we don't do it, who will? We have to stand for life. We have to sort of practice what we preach. And the old hackneyed expression, we walk the talk.
The life chain has been taking place for almost 20 years and will continue to be a voice for all pro-life issues.
Another October event featured the color pink, a symbolic color in the Catholic Church representing hope. So it is only fitting that the Pink Mass has become the annual celebration of hope. The liturgy brings together those people whose lives have been touched by cancer, their loved ones, and their caregivers. Kathy Harrington reports.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you.
Entering St. Michael's Cathedral for the 4 p.m. Mass to the upbeat sound of the diaconates, Matthew Dion leads the procession bearing the cross. The 10th grader is taking part in the annual Pink Mass as a cancer survivor and this year's Celebration of Hope ambassador. Diagnosed with cancer at the age of 5, Matthew is one of 3 family members stricken with cancer. Today, his mom is taking part in the Mass, but his dad passed away more than a year ago. Founded in faith, Matthew has emerged from the difficulties of his illness in no small part because of prayer.
I'm doing good. They think with all the medicine that it's as suppressed as they can get it.
We ask for God's healing presence among us, particularly for those who are struggling with cancer.
Presiding over this Mass, Bishop Mitchell Rosansky noted the colorful ribbons about the cathedral, including the pink ribbon on the anchor at the altar. Most known as a sign of support for those with breast cancer, all cancer patients and survivors are invited to be at this service, with many taking part in the celebration. Appropriately, the readings for this weekend center on persistence and asking for help. For Kimberly Clemens, this annual celebration of life is personal. A breast cancer survivor, she now serves on the board for the Celebration of Hope of Western Massachusetts.
Unfortunately, it hits everybody at some point in their life, whether it's a friend or a family member or somebody that they just know from work.
And as Aaron and Hur held up Moses' arms during battle in the first reading, Kim encourages everyone to lend support.
Reach out your hands and just let them know that you're there, for support, because support is huge. And when you're struggling through this disease, support of the family and friends, that's what gets you through.
In Springfield, this is Kathy Harrington.
Finally, the singing priests are returning to the stage this December in tribute to one of the group's founders, Father Vernon Dakota. Diocesan priests will once again lift their voices in song for a good cause. The singing priests are back and ready to entertain and inspire on December 4th at 3 p.m. at the Bellamy School in Chicopee. They will bring a mix of religious, Christmas, and popular tunes to fill the auditorium. The singing priests, who have entertained for several years and raised funds for good causes, will honor and remember their leader, Father Vernon Dakota, who passed away in June. Father Matt Alcombright, who will direct the concert, explained that he spoke with Father Vern about the upcoming concert shortly before the beloved pastor died.
It is so appropriate to have it in his memory. He's the one who began this. Many, many years ago, he began the Priest for Life, and then kind of took a hiatus, and we came back as the singing priests, and so he was really the vision. He was the one who kind of steered the ship in this direction. So it's just so poignant that we remember him today, and on that day of the concert, and each and every day that we sing our hearts out to God.
The priests know it will not be the same without Father Vern, but look forward to honoring him. The concert will benefit the Church Organ Fund for St. Francis Parish in Belchertown. It was always Father Vern's dream to have an organ at the church. Tickets are $25 and can be purchased by mailing in a self-addressed stamp envelope to Catholic Communications, P.O. Box 1730, Springfield, Mass. 01102-1730. You can call 413-452-0643 for more information. And remember, you can always stay informed on all the happenings in the Catholic Church locally or beyond by logging on to our news and information website, iobserve.org. There you can read articles written by our Catholic Communications staff, as well as view archived episodes of Reel to Reel. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and that's your Reel to Reel News Brief.
And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. Before we close, we send our best wishes out to Bishop Rosansky's parents, Alfred and Jean Rosansky, who last week celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. Bishop Mitch was able to celebrate with them and the rest of the family, and we join in sending our best wishes. As always, to keep up with all of the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, check out our news and information website, iobserve.org. Also, you can friend us on Facebook at Catholic Communications. Next week, in honor of the approaching Veterans Day, we'll have a special program produced by Catholic News Service highlighting the work of military chaplains. Don't miss this special edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you, next week at this same time. Enjoy your week.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.